What's going on, good people? It's your boy Peacemaker back with another video. And in this one here, I am going to be going over my Vikram build. This is also the one that I've been using occasionally in the Ties PvP. And it's done quite well, and it does well against Vikram as well. But I'm not going to really run it up too long. Let's get right into the build. So obviously, the ship of choice for Vikram would be the Garuda. Now, it's kind of unfortunate, in my opinion, that this ship here is still quite dominant, because it pretty much took over season 4 and it's still pretty much dominant in season 5. Don't get me wrong, the Impulsor is nice. Sorry, but the Garuda still has a strategic advantage. But let's get right into it. So let's start with the basics. As you all know, the Garuda specializes in long distance DPS. The first perk is Deadeye. Weapon damage is increased based on how far you are from the target, capped at 80%. When your whole health is 40% or lower, it increases your armor by 500 and Tremor no longer crosses crew stamina for 10 seconds. This effect has a cooldown for 40 seconds. So basically, let's say your target's far away, but you're at 40%. You get that armor increase. You don't lose any stamina, which gives you opportunity to create some more distance to maintain your DPS. The other perk of it is, obviously, as you all know, is the revolver, which is going to increase piercing weapon damage by 20%, and it's going to also increase damage by 30% when hitting a target with puncture stat. And again, puncture stat is basically, once you apply enough damage, you pretty much bypass your target's armor for a duration of time. Also, the long gun is no longer a top deck only weapon when equipped at the bow, which is the front of your ship. Long guns equipped at the bow will deal 40% less damage and have 60% longer reload time. So with that revolver perk, if I remember correctly, in season 4 your reload time was like 10% longer, but now in season 5 they increased it to 60%. So that's something new I didn't notice. So I'll have to definitely keep that in mind with the other build. But as you all know, I build my ships from the ground up. Let's start with the armor. Now, with Vikram, obviously, with the introduction of World Tier 2 in season 5, our opponents are a lot stronger. But I still recommend the Immortal Vessel whenever you're fighting Vikram, because the damage output for Vikram is still about the same, but he is slightly more aggressive than he was in season 4. And with the Immortal Vessel, it may not have the best armor rating at 1100, but it is going to prevent you from being sunk for 5 seconds, which is crucial for the way I have my ship set up. Now let's get into the furniture. This is where things is going to take a twist. As you also all know, that this season now we can modify our weapons, and honestly, I'm thankful for it. It's kind of long overdue. It really opens the door to some really unique creativity, which creativity is something you can't put a limitation on. So shout out to Ubisoft for that. So for my furniture slot 1, my furniture of choice is the Buoy Locker 1, which is going to increase the maximum number of active buoys by 1. It's going to increase the max health of buoys by 25%. It's also going to reduce the reload time of the auxiliary by 7%. My furniture slot 2, I'm running the front powder kegs, which is going to enhance, wait, I read the wrong thing. It's going to increase front weapon damage by 10%. Now you could also go if I remember correctly. I believe it's a minor one for the ballista. Is it this one? Yes. The ballista works 1. You could also use this in your furniture slot 2, which is going to increase secondary damage of the ballista by 19%. Which I'm already running secondary damage. I didn't want to like really go crazy with the secondary damage, so I kind of stuck with the front powder case to increase the overall damage by 10%. Alright, so for my furniture slot 3, I'm running the high velocity kegs. As you all know, the Garuda specializes in piercing damage, which is the best option against Vikram. Don't get me wrong, fire, flooding, electricity, and explosive, they all have some type of effect on them. But if you look through your telescope, you can look at his damage mitigation and it'll tell you what his weakness is, and it's always going to be piercing, at least for now. But the high velocity K is going to increase secondary damage of piercing weapons by 15%, and it's also going to increase the range of piercing weapons by 8%. Now for my furniture slot 4, I'm running the machinist table repair 1, which is going to increase the area of operate. Let me slow down. It increases the area of operation radius of repair buoys by 25%, and it's also going to increase the repair amount of those repair buoys by 25. So by you increasing the area, not only is that going to help you out, it's also going to help out the person next to you if they don't have the proper equipment to stay in the fight. And if you can stay in the fight, you can increase your DPS. Not only that, increasing the repair amount when fighting Vikram, the way he shoots his bombard is going to be quite clutch. Now for my furniture slot 5, I'm running the float collars, which is going to also increase the maximum health of buoys by 100%. It's also going to increase deployment duration of buoys by 50%. So we're increasing the buoy health by 25% here, and we're also getting an additional 100% there, which puts your buoy health at 125%. We'll also increase the repair amount by 25%, and we'll also increase the duration of that so we can heal longer while we're in that radius. And lastly, for my furniture slot 6, believe it or not, I'm not running the maintenance forge, which is probably my favorite furniture in the game since season 1. But with the introduction to modifying our weapons, it gave me the opportunity to increase my DPS a little bit and remove the maintenance forge 1. And for my furniture slot 6, I went with the fusion, this is a new furniture for this season, for season 5. Fuse, why would they put that together? Fuse fusion station. It's going to decrease the reload time of front weapons and rear weapons by 12%. It's also going to increase secondary damage dealt by front and rear weapons by 15%. So overall, combined with the secondary damage with 15% here and another 15% there, that already puts my secondary damage at 30%. Now, as I mentioned previously, you could go with the Ballista Works 1 and add another 19 to that, which that will put you at like 49% secondary damage, which is not bad. But I was more focused on DPS. But let's get right into what I did with my weapons, which most of you might be the most interested in. Now, this is where things get interesting. Sorry about popping my knuckles. If you watch my Faith Chaser video, you all know I'm a big fan of the Band of 10 Suns, and I honestly stand by this weapon. A lot of people overlook it. It's not their style. Yes, the revolver perk is nice on the Garuda, but if I'm shooting 6 shots and only 1 lands, those other 5 are wasted. So for my style of play, the Bandits and Sons with the Ballista is the way to go for me. But I'm going to show you how I have mine set up. So my overall damage is at 1,452. And let's say, yes, I know I did a lot of customization. It's all good. At the base, with no modifications, the Bandits and Sons does 1,083 damage. And I've got mine to 1,452. Now, the main perk I really like about the Bandits and Sons is the Unrelenting Drill, which fires a drill bolt that travels in a straight path. I mentioned that in one of my previous videos. A straight path. It doesn't have that art to it like long gun does. Fires a drill bolt that travels in a straight path, piercing multiple targets. So meaning it's not just gonna hit one and stop, it's gonna keep going. Drill bolts deal an additional 15% to sequential targets after hitting the first target, meaning the target behind the target that you initially hit is going to take more damage than the target in front of it. And the other nice thing I like about the Bandits and Sons, it comes with level 3 piercing. And the only other long gun that I know that does level 3 piercing is the Scarlet Long Nines. All the rest are level 1, level 2. So for that to have level 3s are actually a pretty nice bonus. Now, got a sneak peek. So I'm going to show you exactly what I did with my modifications. It took me a minute. I kind of re-rolled quite a bit, but I finally got something I was satisfied with. So for my first slot for my modifications, I went with Sharpen. And I would recommend that with pretty much any weapon, honestly, because Sharpen honestly improves the overall damage. Firepower does too, but Sharpen seems to do better, in my opinion. At least that's from what I've experienced. Now for my second slot for my Bandits and Sons, I'm running Amplified Piercing, which we're already doing piercing level 3. We're going to increase that by 32.8%, which I believe it caps out at 33%. So that 0.2 that I'm missing, not really going to worry too much about. And my last modification that I did get on my Bandits and Sons is Lethal, which is going to increase weak point damage by 37%, which is the cap on the modifications. Now damage per shot, 947. I'm looking at 655 piercing damage overall. I'm looking at 287 weak spot damage. I could reduce that charge time by changing my furniture, but the way I have it set up works for me. And that projectile speed is still 1,080 meters compared to the 350 meters that the long gun has. Alright, so we're going to get into what I have on my port. Now I went for the same approach on my port side, starboard, and my stern. So I'm running the Nascars because the main perk of those is Gauzy Mending. 5% of damage dealt from this weapon restores whole health. When a weak point is hit, the repair amount is multiplied by 700%. You get level 2 burning, level 1 piercing. Now for my modifications, as I mentioned with the Bandits and Sons, I went with Sharpen on almost all my weapons. Almost, not quite all of them. Actually no, I messed up. Nope. Yeah, there we go. So this is the approach I was going for. I do apologize about the little mix-up. Like I said, it's the same approach for all my Nascars. I went with Sharpen for the first modification. My second modification is Amplified Burning. And my third one is Soul Mending. Now we're already getting a 5% increase. Well, not 5% increase. We're getting 5% of the damage dealt from the weapon as healing. And I wanted to increase that by using the soul mana, which caps out at like 6.3 or 6.7, one of the two. That way that puts my healing at just about a little over 10% per shot, which is quite handy. And since the Nascars do level 2 burning, I wanted to amplify that to almost technically give it level 3. But I'll just say this is 2.5 of the way I like to picture things. And lastly, probably the most important part of this whole build, outside of the Scars and the Bannerton Suns, is going to be your Little Grace 3. Now with this weapon here allowed me to remove that maintenance board I was telling you about. And the perks of it is repair level 2, greater restoration of whole health of friendly ships. Now for my furniture slot 1, well my modification slot 1, with the Little Grace 3, I went with the increased repair amount by 9%. I was trying to go for that 11, but you really can't dictate what it's going to give you when you re-roll your modifications. It's almost like playing Russian roulette, so you do kind of have to like play around a bit. But I went with the increased repair amount by 9.6%, which is service. My modification slot 2, I went with restoration, which restores I don't know why I'm struggling to pronounce that word. I know how to pronounce it, but it's not there. But for my modification slot 2, the maintenance forge removed severe damage when I was out of combat. With this modification here, I can remove the severe damage at a slower pace, but it gets removed regardless, while in combat or out of combat. And at 22.1% of repair also restores severe damage. Now for my modification slot 3, I went with empowered. I was really hoping to get a higher one. I may have to rebuild a Little Grace 3, but empowered is going to hits also grant 3% extra weapon damage on a target for 10 seconds. Effect can be stacked up to 5 times, also reducing reload time by 4%. Now that's pretty much it for my Vikram build. I mean, honestly, if I could, I'm an idiot. What did I just do? No, we got a man down. Find it. There you are. If you can get sharpened at a 11%, max out ghost mending, and also max out amplified burning, you have a really decent solid long gun. And I believe the cap is 135 as far as the level of the weapon, which is in the top right hand corner of this card, which this one here is caps out at 127. So I am going to build me another Nascar to get that amplified burning, and that should help out quite a bit actually. But hopefully y'all try it out. Let me know what you think of the build, and I will see y'all in the next video. Take it easy.